Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the Photo Editor. This time we are going to be doing an architecture focus. I'm going to edit a photo of a farmhouse out in northeastern Melbourne from a day when a friend and I went out to do some bush photography, and towards finishing the day we came across this farmhouse with a sign in the front that said free poo, and I couldn't resist the opportunity for a humorous picture like that, and I took it on a bit of a whim, and so I'm going to see if I can make an interesting photo with it. If you like this episode or any other, as always, I ask if you could please hit that like button and subscribe so you could learn about future content, anything you'd like to see in the future, or if there's something you like about the program in particular, please let me know in the comments. I love to hear them. And we'll move on to this next episode. So to begin with, we will convert to black and white. I tend to think predominantly in black and white. My philosophy is that unless color specifically adds to the message or the purpose of the picture, I tend to leave it out because the color otherwise isn't really serving a purpose. But we will get to do some color work soon. I imagine I'd like to do some more work in Technicolor style as well as Kodachrome. Yeah, so dealing with a farmhouse, so we have obviously a lot of the greenery and some of the red from the brick. So when we're in blue, that this time of that takes it a bit too dark. But if you go to green, they're pretty prominent. Red, it's a little more noticeable, a little more vivid. Orange, not so much. Yeah, so the differences on this one are a bit more subtle. One of my favorite filters to use, as in a physical filter to put on the camera, is actually a red one. And you'll often see this on a lot of black and white photos you might come across on Instagram, where you'll have a scene involving a lot of cloud with a clear blue sky behind it, and with a red filter and black and white, the sky will actually be made very dark, whereas the clouds will become quite bright in front, and that's quite a beautiful look. The effect here is much less subtle because there's a lot more ground detail, and because the sky's almost completely cloud covered, and also this is only an artificial simulation. The best will be if you have a good quality color red in front of the lens itself. But I'm still liking red here. It seems to be the most vivid. Now choosing a film type. I think Ilford Delta 100 is a nice one. There's a good rich tone to the greenery. You can see the sign quite well. Going onto a really low ISO, it becomes just too dark and a bit too sinister looking. Because there's the humor of the sign, I kind of want it to not comically bright, but a bit more of a medium tone. So we'll stick with this one. Go to save. Now, we do have some of the road visible here. Now, that might not be a bad thing. The line with the fence kind of almost forms a triangle which guides the eye. Now, the eye is going to be inclined more towards the rear of the car, which does make a difference to the viewing. Now the tree is, so if we look in the grid line here, the tree kind of goes just to the left of the thirds margin. So a couple of options. Maybe we could leave it as it is, and so the sign does take grand prominence, and that kind of was the purpose when I clicked the shutter, to be honest. Or could cut out the car, and we'll be left with... Let's see what happens when we cut out the car. Yeah, so it does make it look a bit more focused on the this central part, that we don't have the lines taking away to the car, which is not really meant to be the hero or the subject. It's not so much that we're trying to cut out evidence of the modern world. You can tell pretty clearly that it, even just by subtle things like the road, or the fact that the house is fairly weathered, that we know it's a relatively modern picture, and that does look like some sort of modern horse-style horse wagon in the background. So, looking again at the composition, kind of, yeah, the two dominant parts that occupy the center, the sign and the tree, fit squarely in the middle. So, I think we will leave it like this. So now to perhaps make the grass or dirt on the ground here a bit more vibrant, we'll up the texture. Yeah, so it's getting a bit more life to now, and even on the road as well. Yeah, along the fence posts as well. So now I want to up the clarity along the sign, some of these taller grass blades here, and so again we'll kind of have a tapering of the lines that guide the viewer's eye. Yeah, long grass blades like this, I think, respond quite well to a lot of clarity. You can go nuts on it, and the free poo sign is nice and noticeable there. So I don't want to overplay the sign too much, but just sort of record what I see as it is, kind of in a Dorothea Lange perspective, although I'm not claiming to be a hero photographer recording the tragedies of the Dust Bowl era. For those that aren't history buffs, that's worth a Google, that period of time. And Dorothea Lange, she was a great sort of a photojournalist that documented a lot of Depression-era America. Now the farmhouse, the bricks and the tiles, I'm going to, and a bit of that nice old column, I'm going to up the texture on that as well. Yeah. See what happens when we add some clarity to that as well. Yeah, so that makes the that's a little, maybe add it up just a tiny bit, but not too much. You can see how small the adjustment I've made on the clarity adjustment bar. That metal gate, I'll add some clarity to as well. Metal, I find, responds quite well to high clarity as well as grass. Sort of anything with a bit of a subtle sheen to it, whether it's a sort of matte metallic surface or long blades of grass that had that very soft, luminous quality. So we have quite a bit of cloud cover in the background. Probably not so much near the tree branches, but down here in the far horizon, I'll try adding a bit more of a texture to the cloud region. Maybe even what happens when we add contrast. Yeah, so it's kind of like when you're doing lots of steam or smoke. If you want to make clouds a bit more sort of action-worthy, lowering the contrast can actually make their presence felt a bit more. Okay, maybe if we up the blacks, possibly some of the shadow. No, I need to be careful. Some of the tree topping over there is getting caught up in that as well, so I might make an extra brush a bit higher up. Yeah. If we're increasing the black to the shadow, that's only going to make the darkness on the tree more noticeable, and that kind of suits my purpose on this occasion. Yeah, I don't want to add any darkness to the house. It's kind of at just the right light level already. Yeah, so the tree, it's very dark now, and sort of stands out a fair bit from the clouds, which I like for this purpose. I'm going to create a new brush and we'll start it in neutral, but I'll cover it around the tree, and I'll also take a look at if upping contrast will do anything of interest. It's not a heck of a lot, but if you do look at like some of the very, very small branches and twigs, you can notice in high contrast that they're a little more clearly set against the clouds. See, I'll do the same thing over in this corner here. Okay. Now back to the sign that started this all. I might try adding contrast to that as well. We'll see how it goes. I may do nothing. It is at a pretty good appearance as it is. Maybe up That's enough clarity from earlier. Okay, so high contrast and just a tap more exposure, I think, gives it just that little extra kick. So again, we have the fence, which kind of dominates almost the lower third of the picture frame, and I'd like to try and up the brightness and clarity on some of these beams that go along, just to help guide the eye over to the central frame. So perhaps sort of tapering from here where it's a bit darker, we basically have the light coming in from the back right, and we kind of have a bit of almost a halo ray effect coming down onto the sign, which kind of works with the photo logic of how the viewer sees an image. Try and not add to where I've already worked because it'll just be too overwhelming. Highlights and whites are a very interesting thing to experiment with on at the same time, because they can sometimes have similar effect, but quite often the highlighter can also work as a subtle in-between. Yeah. So we can see it's made the caravan by accident a little more powerful as well, which I like. And because it's white, it sort of blends in with the clouds. Sort of, we have this staggering of whiteness going backwards from the sky towards the darkness of the tree. I might add a bit more highlighting to a couple of these lower planks here. Even to this column here, let's see what we can do. Get the fence looking nice. Alright, I might actually come back with highlight now onto the chimney and the roof tiles, see if anything happens. And maybe even the front of that plaster on the roof topping. It's not a huge change, but I like what it does. Bit on this timber work as well. Yeah. Now in the front here we have the road, the bitumen with the white line. I don't want to add anything more to that because it kind of already captures enough of that part of the frame as it is. If we make it much brighter, it will sort of distract from the center. So I'm pretty happy with what we've come up with here. It's in a way, it's quite a almost sinister looking image. You have this rundown rural property with all the signs of wear and tear, all the errands and chores you have to do, but at the same time, there's a bit of that humour in this sign. So it's a bit of my sense of macabre and a bit of wit with deep and meaningful subjects. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will look forward to joining you for the next one. We release videos twice a week. Again, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and tap subscribe and the bell so you can find out when our next episode gets released. And as always, thank you for watching.